With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now. The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
All of a sudden, I feel myself being jostled, and people trying to grab me and put me in handcuffs. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "We came to arrest you." And I said, "Well, who are you?" And then finally, they identified themselves. And I said, "If you are who you are, then where's the warrant?" And they didn't have a warrant, so they had to wait for someone from outside, an FBI guy, to come in to show me a warrant. And I read it, and still, what does that mean? You know, it had to be maybe a dozen people, which is a waste, Jimmy, of resources.
It's more than just a waste of resources. So they grab you and they take you where?
Well, you're right about more than just a waste of resources. They want that. They want to embarrass you. They want to intimidate you. They want to instill fear. And so that's why they did it that way.
The American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%. 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
It's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where black people had to prove their right to vote, and oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really the bottom line is voter suppression. And I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Governor Walz gave an interview this week to The Atlantic where he compared what is happening to your city to that first battle of the Civil War at Fort Sumter. And I'm just wondering what you make of that comparison.
It's terrifying. I think what he's saying is that a significant and terrifying line is being crossed. And I would agree with that.
If a civil war begins, I volunteer, but not as a regular army person. Pick me to serve as a bioweapon. Let me spread Hep C to the bad guys. My weapon isn't my gun, it's my Hep C. Spread love, not war. By love, I mean Hep C. Comment below if you have Hep C and you want to join my liberal bio arsenal. Hep C can be cured via oral medication, but we're not going to have Hep C meds at wartime.
Yeah, so this is for Jelly Roll. You keep on getting up on stage screaming about Jesus and God, but you also just said Jesus has no political party, and you might as well have just said, I am MAGA, I don't give a about these immigrants, these people that are being taken by ICE, the way women's rights are being stripped, gay, trans, black, brown people are being treated in this country. So you can keep that. Because, if that's the kind of Christian you want to be, I want no parts of it.
Will there be any ICE enforcement operations, to your knowledge, around the Super Bowl, whether that's this week and not the game on Sunday?
Security is obviously one of the things we focus on the most. It's a Tier 1 level event. That involves unique assets at the federal level, state level, and the local level, all working together. I see no change in that in the preparations for the Super Bowl. We've not seen that. We're working with all three of those levels and doing everything we can to make sure it's a safe environment. And the federal government is a big part of that, including this administration, every other administration before that. I just anticipate we'll continue to do the work to make it the safest event.
Bad Bunny made a pretty clear anti-ICE statement at the Grammys last night. What are you expecting in terms of political statement, whether that's from Bad Bunny or Green Day or any of the other performers?
I think everybody Bad Bunny and I think that was demonstrated last night, one of the great artists in the world. And that's one of the reasons we chose him. But But the other reason is he understood the platform he was on, and that this platform is used to unite people and to be able to bring people together. I think Bad Bunny understands that, and I think he'll have a great performance.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's February 3rd, 2026. Honored to be with you at the Bitcoin.com studios, your one-stop shop to buy, sell, trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Do all your research there. And we're here in Phoenix. Blake,
Bitcoin.com Phoenix.
Bitcoin.com studio here in Phoenix. And boy, oh boy, did the world react to the All-American halftime show announcement that we made.
They did. I really liked the Department of War asking how they could get in on it. That was an exciting one.
Secretary Hegseth said on Twitter, he said, how do we get the Department of War involved? And of course, there's the graphic. Kid Rock was on the show yesterday. I mean, we might as well just reiterate. I just did a hit with Steve Bannon about it, but we've got Gabby Barrett, Lee Bryce, Brantley Gilbert, and of course Kid Rock. I've been seeing the images. I can't share them, of course, because we have to keep this all, sort of a surprise for you all in the viewing audience, but the production value is it's not going to disappoint, put it that way. It is top notch, made for TV viewing, like a concert, perfect to stream at home. The stadium shows, it's always so far away.
People have been asking, it's right on the graphic, but people have been asking, how do they watch it?
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways to watch it.
There's a lot of ways to watch it, but since we are on Real America's Voice right now, just tune in here. Just tune in here at Real America's Voice. So if you are watching this show, you know how to get here, you know how to find it. Just at when the action of the game pauses, come right over and the stream will be up. Okay? And Real America's Voice will be taking it. And I know they got some programming on either side of it. So it's going to be very seamless for our Real America's Voice audience. If you are more prone to streaming, it'll be all over our YouTube pages, X page, Rumble page. You can check it all over there. TBN, NTD, OAN, Daily Wire Plus, those places will take it as well. And we're talking about potentially some others, but Real America's Voice is the one-stop shop. Rob and Parker Sig instantly called when we made this announcement in the fall and said, how do we get involved? How do we support what you guys are doing? So check it out right here on Real America's Voice. And this is a David and Goliath story. We're going up against a machine, a cabal. Stadiums didn't want to take it. I mean, the stories that we have of trying to put this together are truly worth sharing at some point. But what we have, I think we ended in just the right place. The reaction's been, obviously there's some haters out there, but that's actually part of the fun. Just embrace the hate. Like, they're mad that we're doing this. And there's a lot of people that are very happy that we're doing this. Anytime you do anything important, you're going to have the haters. I say bring it on. Bring it on. David and Goliath. Maybe you can't take on a pop mega superstar, international queer rights, anti-ICE, act in the pro football machine, or maybe you can. We're going to find out. Either way, we're going to have fun doing it, and I think it's already a win that we're just doing it, because guess what? It's the 250th anniversary of this country. We want to celebrate America. We don't want to crap on it. We don't want to be a part of this movement that's trying to indoctrinate our children into hating this country. So check it out. Sunday. You're going to be all gathered together anyways, barbecuing.
I just like that it's like, pausing the action of the game. What game? You might happen to be involved in some sort of game.
Some sort of sporting event. Yeah. We're not sure.
And there's no specific one. There's nothing by name.
There's no names.
Some people watch
no names.
Some people watch pro StarCraft matches on Sundays, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I
just love it. I think it's one of the most fun things. And I was texting in our group chat with Jack this morning.
I'm revealing this one. Okay. What was great was it finally occurred to Andrew, wait a minute. We're doing this because Charlie didn't like halftime shows.
That's not,
and he never realized that before.
Listen, I have a great story. When Charlie did the sexual anarchy tweet, I don't know if we have that. So it was during, it was a couple years back when they were doing the rappers from the 90s. It was like, who was it? It was Ice Cube. Was it Ice Cube? No, it wasn't Ice Cube. Anyways, it was like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. That's
February 2022.
And it was actually kind of a tame performance.
The NFL is now the league of sexual anarchy.
Yes.
This halftime show should not be allowed on television.
Well, and I remember because basically I took one breather from like monitoring my phone to go get some barbecue because I was at a Super Bowl party, obviously. And then, unbeknownst to me, in the 5 minutes I stepped away, Charlie fired off that all-timer of a tweet, and I was just like, Charlie, that was the most tame halftime show that they've had in about a decade. But I think
and was he just not
was
watching
defiant,
it?
By the way.
Did he actually see it, or did he just assume
he was watching
it was going to be bad?
He was watching it, and he was taking screen grabs to prove his point, and I was like, okay, Charlie, all right. But anyways, the point is that Charlie always had a hot take on the halftime show. And, I was sort of more in the headspace of like, people don't like the current offering. They don't like it. There's a demand in the marketplace. I didn't create the demand. The other guys created the demand by choosing their anti-English speaking, anti-ICE, queer celebrating person as the performer. So I didn't create the demand. We didn't create the demand. So that's where my head was at. But it turns out there's just a lot of demand. And yeah, obviously Secretary of War Pete Hegseth getting in the mix. We had a bunch of different people from government agencies say, hey, how can we help? What can we do? We want to be a part of this. And a bunch of the streaming platforms reached out. It's been phenomenal. So the reaction has been great.
It's pretty fun because we're actually reviving an old tradition. Do you know how the other things halftime show got started in the first place? It started, they used to have more tame ones, and they thought, it's the Super Bowl, nobody's going to mess with it. And then other channels started to counter program it deliberately. Oh. And so, for example, In Living Color was that sketch comedy show that would be on when you were growing up, and they just did like a big episode during the halftime show window on a different channel to try to steal viewers during it. And that's when they went over the top and said, oh, they got Michael Jackson the next year. But now
to keep the audience.
They had good acts for a long time, and now they've sort of come full circle back to bad acts that a ton of people don't want to watch.
Yeah, I that makes sense. They've gone woke. Jay-Z's running the show over there, and
yeah,
listen, you get your just desserts.
That's how we got here. This is a weird artifact of Floydapalooza. Around that time, everyone said the halftime show is racist. It needs to be more culturally aware, and they just gave Jay-Z total creative control over it, and so he's used it to book left-wing, anti-American, kind of out of the mainstream acts. I would say that stuff that does not appeal to the broad base of fans.
We have a throwback Charlie clip when he's wearing a hat. It was at the old studio. This is from February 2022. Let's just play it. 3:43.
Look, the Super Bowl halftime show has a reputation. People say it's a spicy program. Okay, listen. Spicy, it's supposed to be boundary pushing. When you have the most televised event, this is true, most televised event for the entire year, one of the most televised events on the planet, by the way, That should be a reflection of the virtue that hopefully you want society to embody.
Man, I never saw that studio.
This is funny,
That's such
though.
a flashback.
Look at this. 2014. Throw this up. 344. This had 1 like. This is how few people were following Charlie on Twitter at the time in 2014. Clothing optional halftime performance? Question mark. 1 like.
Oh man, that would have been. Was he still 20 at that time?
Yeah, I just think this is amazing. Yeah, I don't know. He was born. Yeah, he would
20
have been
or 21.
20
Yeah, no
years
older
old.
than 21.
And so
Man.
Charlie's.
It's like the
He's been
president.
hammering away at the halftime
There's
show.
a tweet for everything.
There's a tweet for everything. He's been hammering away at it for years and years, and here we are in 2026 and trying to do our best to honor him. And by the way, Charlie loved playing in the cultural space. Yeah. He wanted to win the culture. I'll never forget, we were sitting down with a reporter in D.C. around the inauguration, and won the presidency, obviously. And he goes, "What's next? Like, are you guys done?" And he's like, "No, we want to win the culture." And I remember that moment with Charlie really distinctly. And I just think this is exactly the way to honor his wishes, his mission, his legacy, is to go straight for the jugular, go straight for it and take on the cultural behemoth and the cabal and the machine all in one fell swoop. So we're going to have a good time on Sunday. I hope you guys tune in right here on Real America's Voice. We'll be back.
Minnesota's headlines are getting wild. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are being accused of massive fraud, and it's so bad, all you can do is laugh at this point. So from Real America's Music, the label that brought you the #1 hit, Anthem of the Free, comes a brand new song from singer-songwriter Natasha Owens, The Somali Waltz. Let's make the music industry mad and run this to #1. Scan the QR code or search The Somali Waltz on iTunes and buy it right now. The Somali Waltz, available everywhere. At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
Hello, this is Hockey Nut from Weyerhaeuser, Wisconsin. Just saying, tune in to Real America's Voice for the truth.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to Rab. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice, whose conservative values align with my own.
but we could talk.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about our friends over at YRefi. Amazing people, amazing company. YREFY.com. You got to check them out. If you find yourself in a situation with private student loan debt that you cannot catch up on, you cannot get ahead on, you're falling behind on payments, that mountain of student loan statements is piling up on your kitchen table, you do not have to live this way. A lot of people, when they call YRefi, they can't even make their minimum monthly payment on their private student loan debt. That's not a good thing, folks. You do not have to live this way. You're probably depressed. I can't get over it. When I visited their office, they were telling me all these stories about how suicidal people were when they were just dealing with this. They felt like their whole futures had been robbed in the attempt to improve their future prospects by getting a college degree. But instead, they find themselves in a mountain of debt. They can't get jobs, and they can't pay their loans. And so people call them in desperate straits, and YRefi is there to help. They are good people, good people. This is what they wake up every day to do, is to help you get out from under your private student loan debt. So call them at 888-YRefi-34, 888-YRefi-34, or log on at YRefi.com. It's a quick 3-minute rate check with zero rate impact. They don't care if you have bad credit. Who else is going to tell you that? They'll even let you skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times. So check them out. YRefi is the best. Love those guys. Really, really just good people. Love YRefi. All right. So we got to do our obligatory Super Bowl week Roger Goodell takedown. We have to. But we were planning on covering a little bit of the Epstein stuff, but it's too juicy. I want to hit Roger Goodell. We're going to move that to tomorrow. So if you're wondering why we haven't touched on the Epstein stuff, I have my reasons.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot. There's 3 million documents, and people are still parsing through a lot of them. And there's stuff on Bill Gates, which is funny, and Elon Musk, which is funny, and
the Clintons are now agreeing to testify.
We're going to get this tomorrow. I want to do it right. So we're going to devote hour one to hitting that tomorrow, because there's a lot to go through, and I think we just have to. But I want to do it right. I don't want to rush it. So instead, we're going to hit Roger Goodell, which is always
He really
fun.
wants to hit Roger Goodell.
Listen, the NFL is like a vestige. It's like a throwback to peak woke. Roger Goodell should be in a museum somewhere. It's like he shouldn't be doing the job he's doing, and yet it's like I would more suspect him to be like cased in formaldehyde up on some shelf in a scientist's lab, because he's acting like it is peak woke still. And he just is so squish. He's so beta. He's such a bad leader of that amazing league. And so we're just going to hit him. He was asked at the annual Super Bowl press conference about the lack of diversity in NFL coaches. 310.
But everybody knows that this cycle was 0 for 10 for black coaches, 1 for 9 for coaches of color. So should you just be resigned to the fact now that basically nothing you do can move the numbers between 3 to 7 on coaches and 3 to 7 on general managers, those historic numbers that we've seen?
I think we need to continue to make progress, and I believe that. I believe diversity is good for us. I think we have become a more diverse league across every platform, including coaching. But we still have more work to do. There's got to be more steps, so we're reevaluating everything we're doing.
It's so. I feel like, frankly, Charlie would have a good bit on this. Like, as you say, he should be in a museum. He should be in formaldehyde, because he actually is this very, almost the Platonic form of this certain type. He's this he certainly looks like Red America. He's a 66-year-old boomer.
66?
Yeah, boomer white male guy who's running a big institution. Like, you'd think he's almost, he could be in the dictionary as like, oh, this is a core Republican voter. And yet he's this guy who's overseen an institution that he didn't build. It was gifted to him, essentially, or handed to him. And then he, almost to keep himself on top, he gets paid $20, $30, $50 million a year, some insane amount. And he's thought, I can keep control of this by giving in to all of this woke stuff below me, all of this liberal stuff below me. I will midwife this new DEI America into being, and they'll all love me for it. And that's the role he plays. And instead, he's massively messing it up. He's making a ton of people angry. He's making the NFL worse than it was before, when there really wasn't a big problem. Like, are we seriously going to claim that the NFL has a huge racism problem? Like, the entire concept is laughable. They're currently mad. They're mad because there were 10 coach openings and none of the new ones they hired were black. One, so what? They want to hire the best coach. This year didn't happen to go that way. Like, right now, they're going to go into 2026 with 3 black coaches. 3 out of 32. That's a little over 10%. What's the black share of the country? A little over 10%. Wow. Wow, what a crisis.
Yeah, but how many black players are in the NFL?
Okay, but so what? Coaching is a different skill set from playing in the NFL. Why would the same people do it?
I totally agree. I listen, I think you're right. He is by the look of him, he's red-coded. He's GOP.
That's how they do this to you.
But here's the thing: he is a vestige of an artifact of a bygone era of GOP country club republicanism that proved to be feckless, that couldn't conserve jack, that basically sat on their hands while we lost the country. So you're going to watch this man sit on his hands while he loses the NFL. That's what you're going to see. Can't stand this guy. He is okay. So he's then asked about Bad Bunny getting political and Green Day, who is famously very anti-Trump, but total washed up artist, by the way. 314.
Bad Bunny made a pretty clear anti-ICE statement at the Grammys last night. What are you expecting in terms of political statement, whether that's from Bad Bunny or Green Day or any of the other performers?
I think everybody Bad Bunny and I think that was demonstrated last night, one of the great artists in the world. And that's one of the reasons we chose him. But the other reason is he understood the platform he was on, and that this platform is used to unite people and to be able to bring people together. I think Bad Bunny understands that, and I think he'll have a great performance.
Did he call him Bad Benny there?
Bad Benny.
Bad Benny.
Good old Bad Benny. That's how we're going to get around
Not our Benny, the bad one.
Yeah. So Bad Benny. Good old Bad Benny. So what that translation, that means they had a talk with Bad Benny when he started saying he's going to wear a dress in celebration of queer icons and queer identity. And they said, could you tone it down just a little bit, please? Because we got this alternative thing that's happening over here, and they're really upset that we booked you. Could you just tone it down? And he said, ice out.
But what's amazing is I think he's got him kind of by the short hairs, as it were. Like, what? He's not going to host it again. I don't think they ever really do a repeat Super Bowl act. There's really nowhere above. If he told them, okay, fine, I won't do it, and then he just did it anyway, 1, they have no way to stop him, and 2, he'll basically be a lib legend forever.
Of course.
He can absolutely humiliate them if he wants.
The incentive structure is absolutely in the corner for Bad Benny to humiliate the NFL, and to do it with bells on, and to do it and just ride the album sales all the way to the bank.
And Roger would deserve it. He would deserve it so much.
Because you have been cucked, Roger.
Because
you have been hoodwinked by the machine that you created, by the cabal you have overseen, and allowed to metastasize. You deserve every
He's the perfect bad boomer. He can't preserve an amazing
so
thing.
We have Bad Boomer and Bad Benny. There we go. Brandon Gill joins us next.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Howdy, Rad fans. It's Warbringer here. Love you all. Rad is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the hosts, even management. We are the Rad family, and we're better together.
I'm Patriot Mermaid, and I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. When the mainstream media wasn't giving us the truth, I went and looked for the truth and found it on Real America's Voice. Come and join us. Come on.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons why gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. There's also a never-ending list of reasons why smart Americans are diversifying a portion of their savings into precious metals with the Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives during times of uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, and given all of the events that could impact the U.S. economy, see if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you as well. The Birch Gold Group can help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold. All you have to do is text the word America to the number 989898 and receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation here, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, allow the Birch Gold Group to help you diversify with gold so that you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty in the world around you. Simply text the word America to the number 989898. Again, text the word America to the number 989898. Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. We appreciate you being here with us. Republican House leaders are hoping to get the government back open today. In fact, we're hearing that a vote is scheduled for the next 30 minutes or so. While headed to negotiations in the Capitol on Monday, though, Steve Scalise reminding his colleagues that failure to pass this spending bill puts soldiers at risk of missing their next paycheck. Meantime, Democrats are holding the funding hostage over more oversight over ICE. The changes include body cameras for ICE agents, as well as forcing agents to unmask during operations. On Monday, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced that body cameras are on the way to Minneapolis for use by ICE agents there. And NASA is on schedule to launch its first mission to the moon since 1972 as soon as this Sunday. The agency conducted a critical test of the equipment on Monday, and a countdown is underway for what's called a wet dress rehearsal in preparation for the real-life launch. That's a check of your headlines.
Voice of generations. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Very excited about this guest. I've been wanting to have him on for a long time. Been watching him just absolutely crush it. And that is Brandon Gill, Representative Brandon Gill from Texas's 26th congressional district. He is the class president of the freshman class in the House. So self-described, but I actually think it is probably true. Brandon, welcome to the show. We're honored to have you, Congressman. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You've been doing such great work, and we have your back 100%. And you are, I think, It's funny because actually, truth be told, Charlie got to the point where he was like, don't book congressmen on the show anymore. Waste of rations. It's like nothing happens over there. And it's like you have a zombie house, but you have been amazing and you are making waves because just yesterday, you posted about this. I believe it was yesterday. Throw it up there. This is 352. I just sent a letter to Mitch McConnell asking his committee to stop stalling the SAVE Act. 83% of Americans want proof of citizenship to vote, yet the Senate has done nothing for 300 days. The House did its job. The Senate needs to do theirs. So, Congressman, you went straight for Mitch, the McConnell machine. Tell us about this and why.
Well, sure, and thanks for having me on. I went there because we passed the SAVE Act out of the House almost a year ago. And, this is, you guys talk about it all the time. This is the most common sense piece of legislation you can imagine, simply saying that if you are an illegal alien, you shouldn't be voting in American elections. If you're a foreign national and not a citizen, you shouldn't be voting. So we should have common sense measures like voter ID whenever you register to vote. That's something that almost 85% of Americans in this country agree with. That means that a lot of Democrats agree with us on that. So we passed it out of the House almost a year ago. Now it's sitting in the Senate, and that gets taken up procedurally by the Senate Rules Committee, which Senator McConnell chairs. And what we want to do is be very clear that it is the will of the House for the Senate to get this passed. You guys need to do that. The American people are on our side, so let's get this thing moving, and let's put it up for a vote in the Senate in a way that we can actually make this law.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I've checked around on this because when we booked you on the show, I wanted to see what the vibe in the Senate was. And I think we can get 50 plus one over there. I don't think you're going to get Mitch. I don't think you're going to get Lisa. I don't think you're going to get Susan. I think you're going to get Rand. Rand is signed on. Thune has been signaling that he's supportive of it. He said this publicly, that he's going to take it to a vote. The question is, could you pass this in a reconciliation bill? Could you nuke the filibuster for a funding bill, get rid of the zombie filibuster? There's all these options. So this looks like it can be a thing. Now, obviously, you're in the House, not the Senate, right? So taking it back to the House, Speaker Johnson was doing a press conference this morning. I saw him talking about this. There's some confusion here. It's been sent back to the House to add some different stipulations. Does that mean you guys are going to have to pass it again? Are we going to be able to pass that? Fill us in on the details there.
Yeah, so for quick background, we passed multiple appropriations bills out of the House. That includes the DHS funding bill, which funds, the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, FEMA, TSA agents, and everything sort of related in that area. We sent those bills over to the Senate. Now, while they were sitting in the Senate Democrats decided that they were going to go back on their agreement to pass these bills. And they were doing that because they want to leverage the chaos in Minneapolis in order to stop the president from carrying out his deportation agenda. Obviously, that's not something that we're going to tolerate. It's not something the administration is going to tolerate. So what they did in the Senate is they combined all of those appropriations bills minus the DHS bill and sent it back to the House. What they did is they, instead of passing the DHS bill as part of that package, they did a 2-week continuing resolution to buy 2 more weeks of time to negotiate that bill. So that whole funding package has come back to the House. We actually just voted on the rule. The vote is open right now. Last I checked, there were 2 people who are still no on the rule and 2 people who haven't voted yet. So that's still ongoing. If I were to guess, that ends up passing. But again, that's playing out in real time right now. The next step is to vote on final passage, which will be, in I believe, about an hour or so.
Okay, got it. Well, let's just go back a step here and show just how wildly popular these simple common sense measures are. You've got Nicki Minaj, who is weighing in on this, 331. What sensible, forward-thinking, cutting-edge leading nation is having a debate on whether or not there should be voter ID? And then you have Harry Enton, who basically, chimes in and says, yeah, Nikki's right here. The American people agree with her, 320.
The
American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here. Favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Brandon, because it's really a form of slavery, and it's like a throwback to Jim Crow. This is what Sonny Hostin has to say about it. 321.
It's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where black people had to prove their right to vote, and oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really, the bottom line is voter suppression, and I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote. And most democracies do it that way. We're the only ones that really don't do it that way.
Congressman, do most democracies do it this way? And, are you guys trying to keep married women from voting? Which, by the way, married women vote the most conservative of all the female groups. So this is a really dumb thing to suggest. Anyways, go ahead, Congressman.
Right. I know. And what the left is, they're trying to deflect here. The reality is that what the left wants after 4 years of open borders is to bring in millions upon millions of people into the country illegally, provide a path to citizenship, eventually give them voting rights. But in the meantime, they want those illegal aliens to impact congressional apportionment and to figure out ways to vote in our election systems. It's a way of sort of systematically rigging our elections in favor of Democrats at the expense of Republicans. What we're doing is we're simply saying no. You got to have a birth certificate to show your age to playing Little League baseball. I mean, you got to show a passport, oftentimes to travel in the United States or to travel abroad, certainly. So this is about as basic as it gets. And again, what Democrats are doing here is not trying to fight for voting rights or any of that nonsense that you hear every day. Is fundamentally what they're trying to do is erode the meaning of American citizenship and erode the distinction between U.S. citizens and foreigners who are in the United States. We're saying that if everybody can vote in the United States, if every foreign national, if every illegal alien is going to the polls and voting in our federal elections, which means if an illegal alien votes in a blue state, that it impacts me and my constituents in Texas for federal elections, then you're essentially disenfranchising voters in red states or voters across the country. And we're saying we've had enough of this. A core part of national sovereignty is being able to determine that the people who are a part of the body politic, who are citizens, who have sort of bought into the social contract of the United States, are the ones who get, and the only ones who get to determine how our government is run. And that's something that most Americans agree with. It's such a basic, core civic principle that we're trying to get back to. But the left is fighting against us because, and you guys know this very well, they see the SAVE Act. They see illegal aliens voting, and they say that is our ticket to electorally winning in the United States. Again, it's a way of systematically rigging our elections. That's why they see this as an existential threat.
Well, and if you look at the just domestic immigration inside the United States, blue states are losing population. They're losing native-born Americans that hate the taxes, they hate the crime, they hate the regulations, they hate the malaise. I will tell you, I just moved from California, came to Arizona. You could feel the malaise in California. You can just feel it. You can feel businesses are struggling. Nobody wants to hire anybody there because it's a terrible place to do business. So they're voting with their feet and they're getting out. And that's going to affect the Electoral College. That's going to affect apportionments in Congress 100%. You're going to see those chickens come home to roost in 2030 in a big way. But in the meantime, this is why they're fighting against DHS so hard, because guess who's moving into those places? Guess who they're protecting? Illegals. And there's a reason for that. All the grift, all the fraud, all the bilking taxpayer money. There's that news story that came out of Southern California with all those hospice centers within like a 2-mile radius. And this is truly remarkable levels of fraud. And obviously the Somali story in Minneapolis kicked it off. But I have more bad news for Sonny Hostin. Hostin? Whatever. the gal from the one of the cackling hens from The View. We've got some polling on black Americans and where they're at on voter ID as well. 355.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote. So something of a non.
Okay, so let's just big picture here. You've got the voters who want it. You've got black, white, Hispanic voters that want it. Seems to me the only group that doesn't want this is like Stacey Abrams, Sonny Hostin, Hakeem Jeffries. Why the disconnect? What do Democrat leaders know that their voters don't?
Well, I mean, this has been the Democrat plan for a long time. And, this isn't a right-wing conspiracy theory to say that Democrats are trying to import voters in order to get more Democrat voters. I mean, there's a book that came out about 20 years ago called The Emerging Democratic Majority. I mean, the thesis of the work is saying that essentially demographic changes in the United States politically benefit Democrats. And that is one of the ways that Democrats can hold on to power long term. So if you're an American citizen, it doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, or if you're Hispanic or any other race, you recognize that eroding these principles and these ideas that really only hold to citizens, voting rights, for instance, essentially disenfranchises American voters.
Yeah, well, and Brandon, specifically Texas, that's their big get. That's the white whale for the Democrats. We got to fight and save Texas. We're actually going to have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick on the show in the second hour talking about just that. And he's been doing some great work with our Club America chapters in the state of Texas. We got to keep Texas bright ruby red. So we love seeing new stars like yourself rise up in the ranks, doing great work in Congress. Keep up the great work, Congressman. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Well, I appreciate that. We've got a whole lot more work to do, and we've got a lot more fighting to do.
All right. God bless you. Good, voice for the grassroots, Brandon Gill. We'll be right back.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
All right, welcome back. It's great with Congressman Brandon Gill out of Texas. Good guy. Bitcoin.com studio, your one-stop shop to to buy, sell, trade, or just to research crypto and Bitcoin. I want to tell you guys about one of our partners here, and that would be Strong Cell. If you've been a listener to this show, a watcher, viewer for any amount of time, you will remember Charlie talking about Strong Cell. It was one of his favorite supplements, and he would get asked about it everywhere. I don't know what it was about it, but maybe it's just because it was really great, and Charlie was really, impressed by the product. What makes it special is that it has a proprietary delivery mechanism of an enzyme called NADH. NADH is the power source for every cell in your body. Your body needs it. It lacks it. This has a special way of getting it into your cells. You give it if you try this product for 4 to 6 weeks, you're going to notice a massive change, a turnaround. So please give it a shot. And right now is a perfect time to do it because they're doing a 90-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So completely risk-free. Go to strongcell.com today. Use promo code Charlie at checkout to save 20%. So you save 20% on it with promo code Charlie. 90-day money-back guarantee. So if for whatever reason you don't see any difference, then you get your money back. But I think you're going to see a difference because it really works. I take it. It's an amazing product. NADH powers you up. Brain fog, fatigue, lack of energy, all that stuff. You can get rid of it. Go to strongcell.com, promo code Charlie. All right. Blake, are you living on stolen land?
Yeah, I think
I just want you to go off on the concept of stolen land.
No, so this is great. So this happened. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and let's revisit it. So we talked about the Grammys, and one of the big lines that we really teed off on was Billie Eilish declared that everyone has the right to come here because no one is illegal on stolen land. Let's revisit it. 292, please.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Now, a thing we didn't show, but we should have yesterday, is as it happens, she has a quite palatial estate.
She's extraordinarily
whatever. 293 with a very big wall and gate around it. It is not a super publicly accessible thing. But there's an excellent twist or follow-up on this. So, of course, Eilish lives in the Los Angeles area, and there are some indigenous former inhabitant or tribes that are native to the Los Angeles basin, and it's the Tongva tribe. And some members of this tribe got in contact with the media, and they pointed out, we don't believe that we have ceded our land in this area. And so they released a statement to Fox News as the first people of the, the
greater Los Angeles
basin, we understand that her home is situated in our ancestral land. Eilish has not contacted our tribe directly regarding her property. We do not, it's got to update, value the instance when public figures provide visibility to the true history of this country. Or we do value, I guess. But so it seems that she lives on stolen land.
She lives on stolen land.
Which means if no one can be illegal on stolen land, can you illegally trespass on Billie Eilish's property? And I think we should put this to the test. I think someone should get in contact with this tribe and offer them whatever supplies they need, whatever legal funds they need. If you guys want to do a demonstration, I think it might be time to occupy Billie Eilish's land.
I think we need a CHOP city on Billie Eilish's palatial estate.
Yeah.
I think we need CHOP. We need the Summer of Love. And Billie, you've really hemmed yourself in here. You're in a rock and a hard place on stolen land. You're living in ease. You're living on a palatial estate.
Los Angeles Basin Autonomous Zone.
Yes, there it is. I think that this needs to happen.
Lab op.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Billy, you've got enough money. You can buy another one. If this doesn't work out, it'll be fine.
Or, she could do the right thing and she could bequeath it back.
Just give it to them.
To the tribe.
Yeah, make this.
She says, stolen land.
She's rich enough. She could just do it.
Yeah.
And you could own the high. You could take the high route here, Billy. Yeah. You could be the solution to the problem.
No,
you can be you can be the white savior, Billie Eilish.
This is not even really a joke. There's the classic Saul Alinsky tactic is to make the opponent live by its own rules rather strictly, and you should make these commies who want to abolish America live at least for a moment by their own rules. And to zoom back on this, the point is to show that this is a crass absurdity. America is not a stolen country. It is not on stolen land any more than any other country and society in human history is stolen land, or for that matter, any more than all the tribes in America were on stolen land. If you want an example that calls to mind for me, I'm from the Dakotas. We have the Lakota people there. They complain that the Black Hills were stolen from them. Europeans have owned the Black Hills longer than the Lakota owned the Black Hills because they yoinked it from another tribe just shortly before. After they got the horse, they expanded. And that's all of human history. All of human history is this or that, Stone Age people, Bronze Age people, moving around, constantly taking things. What actually gave us the concept of ownership, and for that matter, the concept of theft and property and all of that, is civilization and law. And that is why you can't just steal somebody's land today. It's a great thing. But they hate those laws, they hate the West, they hate civilization, so they use those concepts to undermine them and blow them up. And it's just a pure anti-civilizational resentment. But if Eilish is going to indulge that, make her live by it.
I love that. Well said. Make Billie Eilish give back her stolen land. Her stolen mansion needs to go back to, what's the tribe's name?
It is the what's the Tongva? That sounds like a Pacific Island tribe or something.
Like a South Pacific. Yeah. Billie Eilish, we are hereby calling on you to give back your mansion to the Tongva tribe in the greater Los Angeles basin. You need to do it now. Do it today. You are rich enough to buy another piece of land on a non-stolen piece of property on planet Earth. We're not sure what qualifies as non-stolen at this point based on your guys' faulty logic, but
honestly, I think we know it qualifies as non-stolen if, it's not white people living on it.
You could buy Jeffrey Epstein's island. And buy it. Yes. She could buy that. That would not be stolen.
Was that
probably stolen land too.
Probably.
I don't know where you're going to find some non-stolen land. Even the UK is. You could make the argument is stolen, right?
And the UK belongs to everybody. That's what they say now. We can go deep down that rabbit hole. But if you're not willing to do all of those things, Billy, then we have another good take on what you're supposed to do. This is Ricky Gervais. It's 363.
If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and off.
We are going to be having another conversation about civilizational conquering, and one that is trying to conquer us now. We have Ridvan, the apostate prophet, coming up next. Did you know it's not just Epic City in Texas? There is a whole Qatar city being planned in the state of Arizona. And we're going to unpack that and more with Ridvan, the apostate prophet, former Muslim, now Christian. He's got all the details. We'll be back in hour 2.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of a Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
To this Real America's Voice news break, I'm Terrence Bates. We begin this afternoon with exclusive reporting from El Salvador's infamous CICOT prison. The massive maximum security facility was built as part of El Salvador President Nayib Bukelele's hardline anti-gang campaign. It's a campaign that's seen tens of thousands of arrested and scores of violent gang members locked away. The facility can hold up to 40,000 inmates, including members of MS-13 and Barrio 18, whose members have terrorized streets around the United States as well. Real America's Voice correspondent Oscar Ramirez filed this report from CICOT.
We're located inside of the prison of Secot. This is what it needs to be done in every part in Central America and in South America. This is how you fight terrorism. This is how you clean a country. This is how you bring peace to the citizens. Not stepping away from them, not running away from the problems. This right here is how you resolve a problem to remove every single terrorist that is located right here. It is because they were terrorizing the Salvadorian people, Central America and South America. This is a message to all of you in the United States of America who they are terrorizing with their domestic violence. This is where you need to be located if you continue like that. Nayib Bukele set up the example as a copy-paste to bring peace to the citizens. And this goes to all of you. Claudia Sheinbaum that protects the cartels to not designate them as terrorists. Look what the example. To all the regime in Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, Diosdado Cabello, this is how you resolve a problem. You don't resolve a problem from running away from it. You resolve a problem from attacking it from within and fixing the problem to bring peace to the citizens. To all the Democrats and you, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, and Omar Rashida Tlaib, all you progressive mercenary politicians, here you are. If you want to take them, go ahead. Come and get them and take them home. They're waiting for you. Just defend their human rights.
Catalogado como corredor de programa, los tatuajes alusivos a la estructura a la que pertenece, el sujeto está condenado porque fue quien planificó y ordenó el homicidio de un juez de paz de la ciudad de Melguera del Golfo, en el oriente del país. Hasta ese nivel llegaban estas estructuras criminales de atacar a miembros del sistema judicial por el simple hecho de perseguirlos y condenarlos. Este sujeto es uno de los responsables. Está condenado a 780 años de prisión.
That was Oscar Blue Ramirez reporting from El Salvador. Meantime, happening at the White House, President Trump scheduled to meet with Colombian President Gustavo Petro. That meeting is going to mark the first face-to-face encounter between the two leaders. The duo has spent months attacking each other over the U.S. military raid in Venezuela, which deposed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. At one point, President Trump even threatened the potential for similar action in Colombia. Petro has also chided the Trump administration for its attacks on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. The meeting was initially set to be private, but there is a chance that it does open to the media. If in fact that happens, we'll of course have coverage for you here on Real America's Voice. We're also waiting for White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt to take the podium outside the White House here in short order. We're hearing that there's an opportunity for a press availability for her. The moment she takes the microphone, we'll of course take you there live so you can hear what she has to say. There will likely be questions about the president's meeting with Colombia's president and of course the government shutdown, which we're expecting will end at some point in time today once Congress votes. All of this is coming up throughout the day. Make sure you stay right here on Real America's Voice for the very latest.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Charlie Kirk Show is underway here. We've got two great guests this hour here at the Bitcoin.com studios. We've got Ridvan Idemir, also known as the Apostate Prophet, and that's going to be up first. Then we have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick from the great state of Texas, and I'm going to ask him about some of the Islamification of the state of Texas as well. So it's kind of a theme this hour. He's going to be in studio, which is going to be great. But first up is Ridvan, and he's become a friend, a trusted voice on this topic specifically. We had him at Student Action Summit at Charlie's request, and his content went viral all over the place. And you're with us now. Ridvan, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I think this is so we have to keep hitting this topic. We have to. Islamification of America, of the West. You are the Apostate Prophet. I think you chose your name sort of prophetically here because you are like one calling out in the wilderness, warning people about a conquering ideology of Islam. So start there, Ridvan. I'm kind of thinking back to your remarks at the Student Action Summit. Build the case from the ground up. Explain. Our audience knows this, but we have to keep repeating it.
Yeah, so the name is actually a very important thing. So I chose apostate prophet very specifically because apostasy in Islam, so leaving Islam, is something that is explicitly and clearly punishable by death. It is punished by death according to traditional Islamic jurisprudence. And the majority of Muslims around the world today support the idea, actually, that if you leave Islam and you publicly speak about it, you publicly express that you have left Islam, you ought to be somehow punished. And traditionally you are supposed to be put to death. So this is not just a religion like any other religion where your faith is simply between you and God, or you and the divine. It is one that is a political system where leaving it is considered treason. It is considered betrayal in a political and very serious sense, in a military sense. And so such a religion naturally will not only be hostile against its own apostates, but also against those that do not align with its values, those who stand against it, with systems that are incompatible with its own values. And Charlie very often pointed out, and you can find this in many speeches and many tweets that he made, that Islam is incompatible with the West. So he pointed this out very, very clearly. He got a lot of backlash for it. He repeated it again when he was on stage with me, which was wonderful. He pointed out that people hate him for many reasons, and this is one of them. But it is simply true. It is a system that is incompatible with Western civilization. It is one that is all about.
Why?
So I grew up as a Muslim. What I learned, it's not just what I learned, but I learned, for example, that when I was in Germany, it was our duty to be part of the society in a sense, but to never really integrate into society, because the Quran says very explicitly and repeatedly, do not befriend the Jews and the Christians. They are friends of one another, and whoever befriends them, he is one of them. They are supposed to be enemies of Allah. Muslims are, according to chapter 9, verse 29 and 30 of the Quran, subjugate and humiliate the Jews and the Christians and take protection money called jizya from them like the mafia. So that is the status that Muslims are supposed to have over them, because they are supposed to be only slaves of and servants of Allah, and all other religions are supposed to be made subject to Islam, if not, when the time and opportunity arises, eradicated in favor of Islam. Only Islam is supposed to prevail. That is the ideology. That is the core of how Islam views politics and interfaith interactions.
Yeah, Ridvan, I would talk to Charlie about this a lot, of course, and I think that's a key point that's worth expanding on and emphasizing, that Islam really does, much more than Christianity, for example, have a vision for itself as a totalized, it offers much more explicit guidance. How do you set up society? How do you set up a political organization that is dominated by Islam? How do you live with other faiths, specifically by dominating them? And it's not, as you say, jizya, there's a special tax you're supposed to pay if you're not a Muslim. There's, I believe in most, I'm not sure if this is in the hadiths or so on, but I know that in many Muslim countries, they would have rules. You couldn't dress the same way. You had to be separated by dress. And even today, in countries that aren't even particularly extremist on Islam in other ways, they make it, for example, very easy to convert to Islam, but impossible to convert out of Islam, and that can be weaponized in a lot of ways. I know there have been issues where, for example, Christian women have essentially been abducted and kind of forcibly converted, or they're told they can't unconvert once some sort of process has been gone through. Elaborate on that a bit.
It is. So the last thing that you brought up is a very tragic one. There are lots of cases. It is endless, especially in countries like Egypt. Despite Egypt supposedly making steps toward modernizing and westernizing and collaborating more and all that, it is still a very very everyday thing that the Coptic Christian community in Egypt is very much subjected to the violations by the Islamic communities. And every Coptic Christian in Egypt knows of somebody who was at some point abducted by Muslims and made to forcibly convert, or stopped in the process. In Pakistan, it is very, very much known that the Christian community is very much silenced, and they are in fear. In Muslim countries in general, Christians are brutally mistreated and suppressed. When we have statistics on this that come out every single year by Open Doors, which is a Christian organization, which keeps a list of countries in the world where there is the highest level of suppression of Christians. The top 50 of the top 50 countries where Christians are most suppressed in the world, the majority, probably 40 or more, are usually Muslim countries. It is very much part of Islam to be dominant and to suppress the other, and Christians are specifically considered a threat. With other religions and with other groups, they can often do kind of whatever they want to them, but with Christians are considered the strongest and largest religion, and there is a historical aspect to it as well of the clash between Islam and Christianity. So Christianity is considered an actual formidable enemy, an opponent. So with Christians, the Muslim society is generally specifically careful to put them in their place and subjugate them as much as possible, while keeping a public profile of, hey, we're just friends, we're good with each other and all that. So the tragic thing is that I spoke to a Coptic Christian organization once a while ago. They specifically asked me, when I asked them if I could publicly do something for them, they asked me to please not publicly speak of that organization in general, because if the public associates me with them, with my anti-Islamic stance and all that, they could be severely persecuted, and the Islamic communities in Egypt could take revenge basically on them. So they are in fear constantly for their lives. And you have correctly pointed out that so in the Hadith, Muhammad did very often say that he came to fight the people until everybody becomes a Muslim. He did curse the Jews and the Christians, often mentioning the two of them together, and often pointed out that Muslims should not dress like them, and that they should dominate the Jews and the Christians. So it became Islamic law basically early on. It's called the dhimmi system, that when Muslims conquer neighboring countries, as they always should, and subjugate the Jews and the Christians and make them their subjects and take protection money, it is their duty to basically impose dress codes, so that all Christians are supposed to dress a certain way, all Jews are supposed to dress a certain way, they're supposed to wear things on their necks, like a golden calf or a very heavy cross, but they're not supposed to worship in public, they're supposed to be distinct, and Muslims are supposed to be in every single visible and every single way that you can feel it, be made superior in society. So this is very much Islam.
Yeah, let's take a quick break here. We're going to keep going in the breaks. More with Ridvan, the apostate prophet. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. Let's take you to the White House, where White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, as you can see here on your screen, is making her way to the microphone as reporters are posted up outside. Let's listen into what she has to say.
How was it? Was it in a good tone? What are the results?
I wish I had more for you. The meeting was just wrapping up as I was walking out here, so I will go in and get a readout from the president, which I myself, or I'm sure he, will provide to all of you directly on Truth Social. But I spoke with the president before the meeting, and he was in a very positive headspace, and he was looking forward to sitting down with President Petro to have a conversation. So we will all see how that went together.
Thank you so much, Caroline. What does President Trump mean when he says Republicans ought to naturalize voting? What does that look like in practice?
What the president was referring to is the SAVE Act, which is a huge common sense piece of legislation that Republicans have supported, that President Trump is committed to signing into law during his term. And he spoke with the speaker directly about that yesterday, about the need to get that bill on the floor for a vote, because it provides very common sense measures for voting in our country, such as voter ID. ID. I don't think any rational person who's being honest with themselves would disagree with the idea of requiring citizens of this country to present an ID before casting a ballot in a federal election, or frankly in any election. And that's something the president wants to see happen. So that's what he was referring to.
But to be clear, he does believe the state should oversee elections.
The president believes in the United States Constitution. However, he believes there has obviously been a lot of fraud and irregularities that have taken place in American elections. And again, voter ID is a highly popular and common sense policy that the president wants to pursue, and he wants to pass legislation to make that happen for all states across the country.
And Kelly, just to follow up on that, he said specifically that they should take over elections in 15 states. Can you tell us what he meant by that, what 15 states he's referring to in terms of Republicans taking over elections?
Again, what I was just telling you is that with the passage of the SAVE Act, voter ID will be implemented across all 50 states. The president was referring to specific states in which we have seen a high degree of fraud. If you look at states like California, or if you look at New York City, for example, non-citizens are allowed to vote in elections in places like California and New York City. That just creates a system, an electoral system, that is absolutely ripe with fraud. And you cannot deny the fact that, unfortunately, there are millions of people who have questions about that, as does the president. He wants to make it right, and the SAVE Act is a solution to doing it. Daniel?
Carolyn,
good to see you.
The January ISM manufacturing PMI hit a score of north of 52. It's the best score since August of 2022. What should that tell Americans about manufacturing activity possibly surging under the Trump administration?
Well, the president's tariffs are working, and his economic agenda is working. When you combine tariffs and reshoring American manufacturing and investments in this country, which the president has played a huge role in directly recruiting those investments from countries and companies all over the world to the United States, you're creating jobs. We've seen construction jobs have surged in the past few months. That's because those factories are being built right here in the United States, and we're putting Americans to work. So our manufacturing sector is obviously something the president cares a lot about. That's why he's so determined and dedicated to his tariff policy, which, as you all saw yesterday, the president struck another great trade deal with India. He spoke with Prime Minister Modi directly. They share a very good relationship. India committed to not only no longer purchasing Russian oil, but buying oil from the United States. Also, perhaps from Venezuela, too, which we know will now have a direct benefit on the United States and the American people. And in addition to that, Prime Minister Modi committed to $500 billion of investments into the United States, including for transportation, for energy, and for agricultural products as well. So this is another great trade deal, thanks to President Trump.
Was Tulsi Gabbard involved in a domestic law enforcement search in Georgia?
Tulsi Gabbard has been tapped by the President of the United States to oversee the sanctity and the security of our American elections. She's working directly alongside the FBI Director, Kash Patel. This is a coordinated whole-of-government effort to ensure that our elections, again, are fair and transparent moving forward. I don't see anything wrong with the President tasking a cabinet member to pursue an issue that most people want to see solved. Maybe you don't, but I know many Americans do want to make sure our elections are protected, and that's what Tulsi Gabbard is focused on doing.
Is there something specific that the president has concerns about that led him to ask the Director of National Intelligence to go down to Fulton County?
I just explained the president's concerns with voting in this country, and it's something that he wants to see solved for future elections, and I think that's something all Americans can get behind.
Has called President Petro drug dealer, thug, lunatic, and President Petro has called the American army to not pay attention to President Trump. Do you think President Trump had a hope that this relationship could be fixed?
I think the president invited President Petro and accepted that offer for him to meet. President Petro and the president spoke a few weeks ago. As you know, President Petro said he'd love to come to Washington. President Trump said, sure, come. So I think that speaks for itself. And again, I'm sure the president will provide a readout of that meeting.
Given the recent news and what just happened, how much does this escalate tensions ahead of these critical talks that are happening with Witkoff?
Well, look, I just spoke with Special Envoy Witkoff, and these talks, as of right now, are still scheduled scheduled. President Trump is always wanting to pursue diplomacy first, but obviously it takes two to tango. You need a willing partner to achieve diplomacy, and that's something that Special Envoy Witkoff is intent on exploring and discussing. As always, though, of course, the president has a range of options on the table with respect to Iran. As commander-in-chief, I think they learned that quite well last year with the strike in Operation Midnight Hammer, which was wildly successful and obliterated their nuclear capabilities. But those talks will continue later this week as far as we're concerned right now.
President Trump was talking yesterday about how President Putin had agreed to a week-long halt on attacks on Ukraine because of the cold weather. But today we've seen that Russia has launched some of the heaviest attacks this month. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I spoke with the president about it this morning, and his reaction was unfortunately unsurprised. These are two countries who have been engaged in a very brutal war for several years, a war that would have never started if the president were still in office. It started because of the weakness and incompetence of the previous president, Joe Biden, and that's why the president continues so aggressively to pursue diplomacy to end this war. That's why Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in Abu Dhabi tomorrow for another round of trilateral talks. I would note the trilateral talks that took place last week or the week prior are historic by nature. Never before have all three of our countries really been able to sit down at the negotiating table to move the ball forward towards peace. So Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared Kushner and President Trump made the impossible possible with respect to peace in the Middle East, and I know they're looking to do the same with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war as well.
Harvard, the president said yesterday he's now seeking $1 billion from Harvard. One, how do you arrive at that number? And two, he said he wants criminal, not just civil, charges against individuals at Harvard. Does he want to see Harvard officials arrested there criminally?
Look, I will let the president and also the Justice Department and those who will be pursuing that against Harvard speak on the specifics of that matter. But I know that the president wants to see a deal struck with Harvard that is appropriate and that ensures they are held responsible for the criminal behavior, the illegal behavior, the harassment and the targeting of Jewish American students on their campus that took place over the course of the last year, several years. This is something the administration has been working on over the course of the last year, and the president himself has been directly involved, as evidenced by that Truth Social statement as well.
What does President Trump want to see happen during this 2-week negotiation period for DHS funding? Is he confident that a deal will be reached? And what specifically is he willing to accept on some of the ICE and Border Patrol reforms that Democrats are asking for?
Well, look, President Trump will be the ultimate decider of any policy changes on anything, especially with respect to immigration enforcement. What I will tell you is the president is never going to waver in enforcing our nation's immigration laws and protecting the public safety of the American people, in his ardent support of ICE and Customs and Border Patrol, who unfortunately the Democrat Party has made a decision to demonize. I heard Senator Schumer referring to them as Donald Trump's Nazi secret police force, I believe, were his words. I don't recall that same language being used when President Obama was in the White House and was deporting millions of illegal aliens from our country using this very same agency and these very same agents who, by the way, have jobs because of the laws that were passed by Congress. So as for policy discussions that will take place, Congress will have those. The president will decide on those. You saw yesterday Secretary Noem announced that DHS agents on the ground in Minnesota will begin using and wearing body cams. That's something DHS is looking to roll out nationwide, assuming they have the funding for it. So that could be part of the discussion. I know Tom Homan has been on the ground in Minnesota. He's there again today for direct dialogue with state and local officials to move these conversations forward as well. And I think you'll be hearing more from Mr. Homan tomorrow on some of the progress that has been made. So, look, we're willing, obviously, to have this dialogue and to talk and to listen, but we are not going to concede in enforcing our nation's immigration laws and delivering on the mandate the president was given by nearly 80 million Americans to deport illegal alien criminals from our country.
Venezuela, any preparations for a visit from Delcy Rodriguez from Venezuela, and your your statements on the political prisoners situation in Venezuela.
Sure. I don't have a date for a visit at this time. I know it is something that has been discussed, but no firm plans at this point. As for the release of the political prisoners, the president and this entire White House, and I think the whole country, should be very pleased to see that. It's a commitment that Ms. Rodriguez made, and she has kept, and we expect her to continue to keep it.
Is the administration is still expecting ICE agents during the Super Bowl? And what are the comments from President Donald Trump regarding what Bad Bunny said during the Grammy Awards, ICE out?
I have not spoken with ICE or the Department of Homeland Security or Secretary Noem with respect to enforcement at the Super Bowl, so I don't want to speak on a topic that I don't have knowledge on. I'm sorry, but I would defer you to them.
Bad Bunny?
I'm sorry?
On the statements of Bad Bunny saying ICE out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's very ironic and frankly sad to see celebrities who live in gated communities with private security, with millions of dollars to spend protecting themselves, trying to just demonize, law enforcement, public servants who work for the United States government to enforce our nation's laws. And you didn't hear this same type of uproar from celebrities in Hollywood when the previous administration allowed an invasion of our nation's borders and allowed innocent women and girls like Jocelyn Nungaray and Laken Riley to be killed and raped and murdered at the hands of people who should have never been in our country in the first place. And now you have law enforcement who are simply trying to do their jobs to remove violent predators like those who took the lives of innocent Americans. There was no uproar from Hollywood and the elitist crowd at the Grammys then, but there is now, and I think that speaks to the unfortunate irony that we're seeing in Hollywood. I'm sorry?
Go on. Sorry. Okay. President Trump approval ratings has went up in the Hispanic community since the Maduro's capture. What do you think about that? Because the legacy media said that the Hispanic community is scared about Trump policies.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. But what the president obviously did with respect to Venezuela was a great thing for all Americans, but especially Venezuelan Americans who fled Maduro's illegitimate regime because of the horrors of communism. And I think it's a good lesson for all Americans to learn. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you.
You've been watching White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaking outside the White House to reporters, answering questions about the meeting that President Trump just wrapped up with his Colombian counterpart, the president of Colombia. At this point, as you heard her say, she hadn't spoken to the president about that particular meeting. It was a closed session meeting. So we'll, of course, try to find out more about what was discussed during that meeting. The two leaders have been at odds for quite some time, and so we'll find out exactly what they discussed during the meeting. In the meantime, though, former President Bill Clinton and his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, are now set to testify before Congress related to the body's ongoing investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. The former First Lady is scheduled to be deposed on February 26th. Her husband will face the House Oversight Committee the very next day. The agreement for the former first couple to testify avoids a contempt of Congress vote, which was scheduled to happen tomorrow. You may remember the House Oversight Committee voted to hold the duo in contempt after they failed to show up for their previously scheduled deposition last month. Now the Clintons appear to be singing a different tune, though. The new deposition agreement comes following months of wrangling between the attorneys representing the Clintons and the House Oversight Committee. NASA is on a schedule to launch its first mission to the moon since 1972 as soon as this coming Sunday. The agency conducted a critical test of the equipment on Monday, and a countdown was underway earlier today that's called a wet dress rehearsal in preparation for the real launch. 4 astronauts will take the trip, and they're in quarantine right now. They're preparing for the big takeoff. By the way, there will be no moon landing here, just a flyby by the moon. On Monday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth visited the Blue Origin factory in Cape Canaveral, Florida, and once again emphasized the importance of the United States winning the current fight for space supremacy.
In this era of warfare, we can't just command the skies and the seas or our hemisphere. We have to dominate the ultimate high ground. We've always known this. Any infantryman knows this. Anybody knows this. Whoever controls the high ground controls the fight. Space is the ultimate high ground. So we will chart the path. We will set the tone. We always have, and we will again.
As for the Artemis 2 mission to the moon, it's set to last about 10 days. Right now, the launch window is between Sunday, which is February 8th, and the 11th, with additional windows in March and April if this week doesn't ultimately work out. Republican House leaders are hoping to get the government back open. In fact, a vote is happening or vote is scheduled to happen at this very moment. All of this over those 5 spending bills and a continuing resolution for funding of the Department of Homeland Security. While headed to negotiations in the Capitol on Monday, Steve Scalise reminding his colleagues that failure to pass this spending bill puts soldiers at risk of missing their next paychecks. Meantime, Democrats are holding the funding hostage over more oversight over ICE. The changes include body cameras for ICE agents, as well as forcing agents to unmask during operations. On Monday, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed that ICE agents in Minneapolis will be issued body cameras.
They generally tend to be good for law enforcement because people can't lie about what's happening. So it's generally speaking, I think 80% good for law enforcement. But if he wants to do that, I'm okay with it.
As for ending the shutdown, we'll continue to update you as we get new information.
The Charlie Kirk Show, where truth lives.
All right, welcome back. We have probably the most perfect ideal sponsor for our next guest, which we're going to get to in just a second, and that is Good Ranchers. So we are celebrating 250 years of America, Americana, and the people that make this country work, that feed this country, and that is, of course, our ranchers. And now you're going to understand the tie-in with our next guest in just one second. But, of course, ranching is the backbone of America. They feed us, they take care of us, and this is a company that's completely devoted to supporting America's ranchers. That's Good Ranchers, goodranchers.com. And you have to check them out. You can save $500 a year if you get a box. If you subscribe for getting your meat delivered to your door, you will save over $500 over the course of the year. And if you use our promo code KIRK, K-I-R-K, you will save $25 off the first order. So that is promo code Kirk. Go to goodranchers.com, save $25, then subscribe like I do, and you'll save over $500 in a single year. Goodranchers.com, supporting America's ranchers and farmers from the pasture to the final seal that goes on that box. So support this country like Good Ranchers does. Without further ado, I'm very honored to have our next guest on the show, and that is, of course, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick from the great state of Texas. And we have you here, sir, because, well, for a variety of reasons, but you have made a tremendous down payment. I'm stealing your language. Sure. On Club Americas in the state of Texas. And that's you came to our campus, you signed a big $1 million check that you donated from your personal campaign. And first of all, thank you. And second of all, please share with our audience what inspired you to do that.
Well, first of all, I want to challenge every elected official out there who has money in their campaign account that they'll never spend on a campaign. They would probably give it to some other nonprofit to consider making, even if it's $25,000, whatever it is. Campaigns are big in Texas, so we raise more money. I understand not everyone has $1 million in their campaign account, but this should be a challenge for every God-loving, God-fearing elected official out there to support a Club America campus on all of their high schools in their state. And that's why we want to do it in Texas. We want to have a chapter on every campus in Texas. And I knew Charlie in the early days when he was first getting started. He came to Texas a lot to raise money.
There's your picture of you two.
There we go. That was from Lubbock. Was that Lubbock?
Yeah, West Texas. I was actually at that event.
Yeah, that was
2020.
I think that was our last event we did together. But in those early days, Texas has a lot of faithful people, a lot of conservatives, and a lot of money, and so he would raise money there, and we got to know each other. Long story short, for radio time, at the inauguration in January of 2017, I was going to the Trump Hotel, and Charlie happened to be walking in the door at the same time, held the door for me, and he said, Dan, I've got something I want to share with you. And it was chaotic in there. Everyone was celebrating. But Charlie, we sat down on the couch, and he told me his vision, which was a mighty vision that we thought, can you really make this happen, which he did. And so when I was on the phone with your team after that terrible day, talking about I want to get a chapter on every campus in Texas, it just came to me, Lord put it on my heart, pay it forward. He gave his life for what he believed. So writing a check for $1 million out of my campaign is the least I could do for that young man who sat on that couch and shared his dream and made it happen. And I chair, the president appointed me to be chair of the Religious Liberty Commission, and we'll report to the president later this year on our recommendations to restore religious liberty, because the last administration, attacked people of faith, of all faiths. And I think about where we are in this nation. It's not a battle, guys, of Republicans, Democrats. It's a battle of darkness and light. And what we are seeing across our country is darkness. And there's a movement in this country that wants to remove God from our country. I don't mind saying it because it's true. And those of us who are believers, again, in all denominations and all faiths, those of us who believe have to stand up and fight for that belief, or we'll lose this country. You cannot change a country unless you change the culture of that country. And you can only change the culture by changing the character of the country. And you can only change the character by changing the heart of individuals. And you can only do that through faith, for me as a Christian, through Jesus. And that's where we have to get to. And when Charlie made that pivot from really politics to faith, that's when he changed the world. And that's when he became a target. Because the other side does not want that. The totalitarian governments who want to take this country down, the first thing they have to do in any country is to destroy God, destroy civil law and order, to disrupt families by having boys play girls sports and make us fight about it over and over and over. This is a battle of darkness and light. In the book of Jude, right before Revelations, 2 words in the Bible I really always remember that I love. Jude said we have to contend earnestly. Today we'd say, fight for what you believe. You have to contend earnestly. And if we don't have combatants who contend earnestly and support what Charlie started, we will lose this nation.
I don't know if you have anything, Blake. I have lots.
It's such a testament. I love you saying Charlie sits you down and he explains his vision to you, because I think so many people had that experience the first time you meet Charlie, and he has that overflowing level of vision, of ambition, and you sit there thinking, is this guy for real? And I remember when I first started here, and he would just say, Turning Point USA, the most important organization in America. And I'm always my cynical self. I'm like, really? But then he went and he made that the reality, that level of self-belief. And some people saw it right away. Some people had to be won over to it. And eventually he proved all of us wrong. And that was the most stupendous thing about him.
Well, if you think back to that moment, he had just been Don Jr.'s bagman on the campaign, got to experience this incredible whirlwind. Yes. He's getting cokes for Don Jr., he's taking the bag, he's doing social media posts. Then they win. Nobody thought they were going to win. It was a miracle, genuinely. And then he's in D.C. for this inauguration. Most people that are, what was he, 22 at that point? At that age, with all of that had just happened, would have been probably partying it up. And it would have been wasting the time. What is Charlie doing? He's opening the door for the lieutenant governor of Texas. And then he sits down and says, I want to talk to you about Turning Point. Yeah. That is an amazing image. I hadn't heard that story, but what an amazing image.
Well, to accomplish what he did in such a short time means that you're focused on what you want to accomplish 24/7. You don't have time to party. You don't have time to think about anything else. And you put that first. And we have a great commission on my Religious Liberty Commission. And I have Dr. Phil, Dr. Carson, Reverend Graham, Paula White, Timothy Dolan, Robert Barron, some of the great faith leaders and intellect in our country. And so Cardinal Dolan, the Cardinal of New York, who's now retiring, he said to me, he called me, he said, Dan, I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was. And I saw this memorial and I thought, who is this person? And he said, I went back and watched his sermons, in essence, his speeches. And he said, he's a modern day Paul. And so we have to realize that if we don't think that God's hand is in what has happened, and not that he wanted to see the tragedy that happened to Charlie, God is here to protect us and prosper us, but it's an evil world out there, and Charlie's life was taken because people feared what he was doing. They feared that he was being a voice that they wanted to snuff out. Yeah, and you have to look at President Trump. This hatred towards President Trump, they feared him, and that's why they tried to assassinate him, is that you have to understand this leftist movement, this communist movement in this country has been going on for decades, and we've been asleep at the wheel. And there's three things you have to take over in a totalitarian government to take over a country. Number one is you have to take over the education system. Does anyone want to argue that they haven't taken over the education system?
Saw the walkouts this past few days.
Saw the walkouts. Number two, you have to take over the media. You have to have the propaganda machine.
Do you see the Grammys?
Yeah, it's everywhere. And then number three, you have to have the Supreme Court. And the reason they hate Donald Trump is they can't believe that guy that came down the escalator that day beat Hillary Clinton, who they thought was a shoo-in. And the reason they don't like her either is because she lost to him, because he stopped that. He stopped that from happening. Do you realize what the court would be today if Hillary Clinton had won? It would be a 6-3, 7-2, 8-1 liberal court. And it wouldn't make any difference how conservative Texas is and how many conservative laws we passed. Everyone would be overturned. Mm-hmm. So that's why they hate Donald Trump. He stopped them on their 40-year mission. And so now what do? You can't have a civil society if you don't have law and order. These aren't peaceful protests. These are not guaranteeing the Constitution. They're committing felonies every day when they're attacking our police. And again, I go back to the transgender issue. We love all people. God loves all people, and pray for these people to get through whatever issues they're having. I'm sorry, a man does not belong in a ladies' room, and a young man should not take away the trophy or the chance to be on an Olympic team from a young girl. Nor should a man take away a small business loan from a woman who would qualify for it. What's going to happen next? Is someone who's 40 years old going to say, I'm a trans senior? I really believe I'm a senior. I want my Social Security benefits now. I mean, that's who I believe I am. I believe I'm 65. I'm not 45. I mean, this is craziness. And it's so crazy that we have to pass laws as we have in Texas to stop it. But that's what the left wants to do, create chaos, chaos, chaos. And this whole plan about illegal immigrants who came mostly across our border in Texas, because we have 1,250 miles of border with Mexico, to put that in comparison, that's Atlanta to Maine, is how big our border was, zigzag, but that many miles, is the plan was this: bring millions in, and then when the next president, whoever it is, tries to run them out, we'll just go in the streets and we'll stop it. Mm-hmm. And so this is all a clear plan, and so I come back around to it's not Republicans and Democrats. Look, there are a lot of good Democrats who are believers, who vote. They just don't know that their party's been hijacked. They just don't know it. And they need to wake up to it.
Well, that's a generous take.
Yeah, it's a generous take.
Because at this point,
it was more defensible 20 years ago, I think.
It was more defensible, but I know that there are Democrats out there who I know who are strong in their faith, go to mass every week or go to church every week, and they just don't see it for what it is. But they're waking up.
Or they have bad theology, and they think that, they take the verses of the Bible about the sojourner in your land and all this stuff, and they skip the verses that says God lays out the boundaries and the borders of your country. So, I mean, Charlie really believed in educating the church to make sure they had good theology so that they didn't fall into an open borders trap, right? So boundaries are where, especially with countries, are where good ideas begin and bad ideas end, or vice versa. And they're really, really critical, especially if you look at a place like Texas, which is thriving, which is law and order, which has such an amazing population with amazing character and history. You got to preserve that. You can't allow the erasure of your culture and your people. And we're seeing that in Europe and so many other places. I want to talk about young people in Texas when we get back. More with Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Texas, Dan Patrick, when we get right back.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. because you don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
Cut your penis off, That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light.
All right, welcome back. We are here in studio with the great Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas, the Lone Star State, proud state. Okay. But I will say, last time I was in Texas, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and we can talk about that special election if you want. I don't think that's indicative of where the state's at by any means. And we
can talk real quick.
Yes, please.
The reason we lost that Senate seat, 74. We think the official number is 74,000. 74,000 Republicans who were 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours who normally vote didn't vote.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
It's a one-off special election.
Candidly,
we'll take the seat back in November.
I feel terrible for not knowing about it. But I didn't hear about it. Normally, we like to highlight these things, tell people to get out and vote. We didn't even hear about it. So it was just something was off. And I will say, I think the amount of damage this particular Democrat can do is fairly limited in the time they have, and we'll take the seat back. Okay. But when I was there,
we're not in session, so you can't do any damage.
That's what I'm saying. Young people in Texas, I fear there is you talk about complacent voters, but there is a complacency maybe amongst young people in Texas that maybe think that your generation is a little backwards and they want to be more progressive or something. That was the vibe I was getting when I was on the ground. So this is why I think what you guys are doing and partnering with Club America at the high school level. Blake mentioned all these walkouts that we saw across the country, anti-ICE walkouts. I think it's so critically important that we save Texas. Everything depends on saving Texas from a national level.
I was just in Texas visiting a friend, and we were meeting another friend of his, and he was telling me he's in tech in Austin, and the number of people fleeing California, the Bay Area, because of how bad that's gotten. And he was telling me there's really only a handful of places in the entire world that are really, truly innovative, where they're doing the cutting edge on technology, business, and all of that. And one of them was Silicon Valley, and they're ruining it. And he said, Blake, I think it is existentially important for all of Western civilization that Texas remain Republican.
Yes. Well, first of all, you could never win the White House ever again, the electoral votes of New York, California, and Texas, so you have a one-party government forever. Secondly, we're not going to let them win Texas. But this was, in many ways, this was a good wake-up call, because what happened in Tarrant County, one of the reddest counties in the country, they just couldn't imagine, even in a special election, a Democrat could win. And so now for the next 8 months, as we're campaigning, we'll be reminding people your vote really matters, and you have to get out and vote. And that's all across the country. I go back to this darkness and light. I think we have to approach people on where they are in their faith walk. Someone interviewed me, as you know, when we were coming in, and they asked a question about, is America really still a faith-based country? And the answer, yes, I know, because every time there's a crisis, where do people go? They go to their knees and pray. Whether it's a national event or whether it's a personal crisis, where do they go? And we have walked away. Those of us who are believers and not wearing it on our sleeves. I'm not trying to proselytize and convert anyone, although it is my great commission as a Christian. I am.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. But I mean,
come one, come all.
Yeah,
please.
In my politics,
I understand.
You know what I'm saying. I'm not going out there and saying before you leave, take a yard sign and I want your commitment. But if we are examples to people. Yes. Through how we behave and how we act, and if we can, through Club America, teach that to the next generation, then that generation will be the generation to inherit America, not the generation that we see in the streets.
Well, and I believe what Charlie believed, that Gen Z is not the problem, they're the opportunity and the solution.
Absolutely.
And that's why, we think that they've lost the plot of America. But Charlie proved that they had to be reasoned with, that we had to respect their pushback, that we had to respect their questions enough to answer them.
Yes.
And once they hear the answer, you can win a lot of them over, and they can be convinced. It's not set. This is wet cement, though. So we got to keep winning them, right? Yeah. It's not set in America's this unbroken chain of one generation passing on the values and the promise of America to the next, but that link is fragile right now. So we have to pass it on. But I think there is so much opportunity in Gen Z, and they are actually really radicalized about a lot of things previous generations got wrong, and they're ready to move on them.
If we had the money, so another call for all elected officials out there with your campaign funds that you're sitting on that you're never going to spend, send a check, and maybe you can't send $1 million from your campaign because we have more in Texas and smaller states, but send something because we need to have Club America on every campus. Our young people are dying for it. Look, this is a whole different generation. They're drinking less. They're abstaining from sex. They want that family.
They're hungry for it.
They're hungry for it, and we have to feed that hunger. And there's no one else on planet Earth except Turning Point that's willing to feed and has the ability to feed. We just need the funding to continue to do that because it's expensive to hire people to be on every campus.
The growth was explosive after Charlie. Yeah. And I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of applications to start new chapters. We're still starting. I checked with our field team. We're still starting 50 new chapters a day. Do you have any, and that's registered student organizations approved on campus.
I don't even know how you do it. We've gone from about 300 before September to 1,000 now in Texas. And of course, we have 1,200 school districts, so we have a ways to go, but we're going to get it done. But I go back to, we cannot keep America the country that we used to have. I like to say the reason people are coming to Texas is the America that all America used to be. Mm-hmm. And we do uphold the law. We are a conservative government. We protect the Second Amendment. We protect religious liberty. This session, I passed Senate Bill 10 to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom, Senate Bill 11 to put prayer back, private time in every school. As a lieutenant governor, I put in God We Trust in the Senate for the first time ever in history, and under God in our pledge. And so I just think that you can't expect to turn around the culture of this country if you don't talk about these real issues from the Bible. You just can't do it.
I totally agree. And you mentioned, though, the character of the people. You have to keep that intact. We've only got a minute left here, but you hear about Epic City, you hear about all the mosques that are popping up in Texas. What do we have to say about that?
Well, we're actually having a hearing on it in the next couple of weeks in Texas, and our Attorney General is dealing with that, and that's not going to happen. We're not going to allow Sharia law in Texas. We're going to go by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Texas, and we're not going to put up with that. We just need politicians not to be afraid to step up. There are a lot of people, but like one of the things that just aggravates me at the Democrat Party is they're all cowards right now. They cower to the radical left. That no one in that party will stand up and say what's right. And so that has to be a breakthrough. Somebody over there has to say, so wait a minute, we're going to, I mean, I can't believe they're still running on men and ladies' rooms. So that has to stop. But we as, again, it's not a political thing, but we as Republicans, we've got to take this mantle and move forward. I always say at the end of the day, I'd rather be kicked out of office than kicked out of heaven. So it's real simple. When you come down to tough decisions, follow Jesus or follow your faith, and don't follow the world.
Well, God bless you, sir.
Thank you.
And
when the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
Cut your penis off.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light.
It's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate today.